So this time we're going to talk about, coming from the bilevel weaning, we'll talk about bilevel. We'll talk about the mode that's called bilevel. So this is the problem, professors. When you read the literature, unfortunately, people who write the literature and people who even review the literature, they don't know this mode. They don't know it. Even people who write on it, I swear they don't know the mode. Read it and tell me. They use the terms bilevel and APRV interchangeably, right? Maybe I'm stickler, but it just completely, you know, like make you not understand the mode. Bilevel and APRV, unfortunately, they are the same button on a vent, right? Even here in this vent it says APRV/biphasic. That's the name of the mode. Because there are really two modes here, but they have the same. Why they are the same button? Because they have the same set parameters. But they are completely different modes. I mean, not completely, but just like the night and day. It's almost like, I'll give you the analogy, is that if, imagine if you walk into the ICU and I'm giving you a report and just being a little cocky, and I say, this patient has VQ mismatch. You look at me, what do you mean? Like, does he have shunt or does he have a dead space? Shunt is here, dead space is all the way to the opposite, and both of them are called, and everything in between is called VQ mismatch. So that's the same thing. If you talk about them as the same mode, you really talk about two different huge considerations for the two modes. Basically, I consider them completely two modes of ventilation, completely. Why is that? So, what is the parameter that you go above a certain point, and that changes the APRV to bilevel? Like, when do you start moving from the realm of APRV into bilevel territory? The low time. Remember I said the maximum is 0.9 here? When you go 1 second or higher, that's considered bilevel. Right? Why? By the way, who came up with this number? Me. Because there's no number, and people are confused, and the residents are confused, and everybody's confused. So we have to like really make up some rules. If you go 1 second or higher, that's why I chose this number, because it's more than enough. That's the normal ventilation. You know, 1 to 1 second, 2 to 1 second. Usually 1 second for exhalation is more than enough to exhale more than 80% of your breath for most lungs. So I'm not gonna even measure, because we don't measure this ratio when we do bilevel, because nobody's gonna get hurt with it. It's 1 second or more. You know, it's good. You know, it's gonna allow the patient to go all the way, right? So that's why when we go 1 second or more, we are in the realms or the territory of bilevel. That's important distinction, because when you read the literature, you see some people saying, for example, APRV increases venous return. How do you think this mode increases venous return? Of course it doesn't. You know, there's so much time here that you have venous return. The venous return is abolished in this, you know, or very low, and this one is, it doesn't increase the venous return, it reduces the venous. That's one of the side effects of this mode, right? But bilevel does increase the venous return, although I don't believe in it, but if any one of them increases the venous return, it's gonna be the bilevel. Because it's, you know, just like a huge time here in the low time, that's venous return, and the siphoning effect going from up all the way down, and all of these things, it improves the venous return. So I don't believe that none of them increase the venous return, by the way, but if you are publishing something and saying one of them is going to increase the venous return, you have to be careful and say it's bilevel, not APRV, because people are just going to say, oh, this patient looks hypotensive, let me put him on APRV, then increase the venous return, and the patient is dead. He will die. It's crazy. So anyway, what's the other parameter? What's the other parameter that will have to be increased every time we raise the low time more than 1 second?
Low pressure.
The low pressure, yes. Because by raising the time, by widening the time to more than 1 second, the lung is gonna experience the low pressure. So we can't allow it to be 5. This patient is still sick, right? So that's the definition of bilevel. Is it basically more than 1 second low time? That's my definition for it. You know, and I think it makes it much more clear when we deal with patients. Okay. So imagine the possibilities now. We're going back to the first patient we started with. when you go to another hospital, and you say, I want to use APRV, they're going to say no. Don't start with the APRV. They're going to freak out. The respiratory therapist, if they don't know it and you want to teach them, they will never do this. They will be so scared to do this ratio because it's really scary. Start with BILEVEL. I did that in another hospital. You start with BILEVEL. Everybody gets, every time I go there, they got used to it, right? And then suddenly I just increase the time, the high time, and shorten the low time, and becomes APRV. And then I tell them to measure the ratio. But they're already comfortable with the mode. So if you have somebody that has inverse ratio pressure control, and his wave looks like this. Remember that patient? Do you know that I can make the same exact waveform on BILEVEL? Not APRV, right? On BILEVEL? I can make exactly the same waveform. As if they're the same mode. So BILEVEL is closer to pressure control, by the way, than APRV. Anyway, so I can make the same wave. I can make it exactly looks like this. Exactly same dimensions, everything. By doing what? By translating the settings from here to here. Just you need to know the terms of the settings, that's all. And by the way, that's very important, and it's also in your app. All of these things in your app except the true APRV. In your app, you see something called routine BILEVEL troubleshooting, right? And it has 2 pages of things to do for routine BILEVEL. Anyway, so you're gonna be doing this a lot if you're transferring a patient from here to another hospital. Sometimes the ambulance says we don't have BILEVEL. By the way, all the ambulances here bought machines that do BILEVEL because we're doing BILEVEL, so they don't tell us anything. But sometimes they come and say, no, we don't have the machine event that will do BILEVEL. Can you please put them on pressure control? So you have to know how to go from BILEVEL to pressure control and from pressure control to BILEVEL. When somebody comes from the ER, for example, on pressure control, how do you switch it to BILEVEL in an equivalent setting? So I'll give you the settings here. Inspiratory pressure of 20. PEEP 15. I to E ratio 2:1. Respiratory rate 20. FiO2 100%. What are the settings on BILEVEL that you're going to put the patient on to be equivalent? Low time, pressure support, and FiO2.
The inspiratory stays at the high pressure, right? And PEEP stays at the low pressure?
What? Say it again?
I think the inspiratory pressure will stay will become high pressure, PEEP will become low pressure. But then
High
you have to
pressure
change the
plus
ratio.
the PEEP. Right?
Plus the PEEP. So it depends on the term. So the PEEP is from here to here, that's PEEP. And inspiratory pressure is from here to here, it doesn't reach the 0.
Gotcha.
Here, the low pressure is here and the high pressure from here all the way to 0. Right? That's the trick. That's the small
So
trick.
35.
Right? So let's start from the beginning. Let's make it easy. Right? And this is 100%. Right? So we're going to do the 100%. This one, 0. It's always 0. Right? So we got these two. The first thing that after that is the low pressure, because it's BILEVEL, so the low pressure is the PEEP. So the low pressure is equivalent to the PEEP. That's a very easy one to do. So the 3 easy ones you're gonna get just from looking. And then of course, like Professor Darlene said, this one goes from here to here, so the high pressure is equal to IP and the PEEP, so that's 35. Now how are we gonna resolve this?
If they're taking
To calculate
20
the time,
breaths
yeah.
in a minute,
Yeah.
then essentially they're taking 4 breaths. Or it should be like 4 seconds per breath, like the time to do that correctly.
Very frustrated that you do that. Math,
Went up all
Professor,
night.
math. You should be the best in math.
He's post call.
But still,
60 divided by 20 is 4.
it's 3.
3.
It's been a long night.
So 2 seconds
2 seconds.
and 1
1
second.
second.
Okay.
Shoot.
Alright, that's it.
I was
Right,
on
so,
the right track.
You're on
yeah, you're on the right track. You're on the right
Doing
track.
that.
Just need the calculation, that's all. You need the calculator with you, that's all. Yeah. Without the calculator, we're like mindless. Anyway, so 2 seconds, 1 second. So imagine the possibilities here. I can actually give you the same exact mode of ventilation on BILEVEL, with the advantage of